Maybe you've felt this before. He's married, yet somehow you can't stop thinking about him. You feel that mix of desire, fear, and adrenaline that no ordinary relationship can awaken. Every message from him carries a different weight. Every silence leaves a burning emptiness inside you. You know that place was never truly yours. And yet your heart keeps fighting as if you're about to lose everything. It's as if the very idea of another woman taking your place is unbearable. And no matter how loudly reason tells you to stop, something deeper and something Carl Jung would call the force of the unconscious pushes you to continue. Here's the hard truth. Many women don't fight only for a married man. They fight for what he symbolizes within them. Today I will show you why this forbidden flame feels so irresistible, and why so many women will do anything to keep it alive. The forbidden attraction. There is a strange power hidden in what we cannot have. The forbidden often feels brighter, stronger, and more alive than anything freely available. When it comes to relationships, this is especially true. A married man is not just a man in the eyes of many women. He turns into a symbol, a flame that seems unreachable yet burns even hotter because of that distance. The more distant he seems, the more magnetic he becomes. Carl Jung explained that the unconscious often projects desires onto symbols. A married man stops being only himself. He carries the weight of being chosen, wanted, and validated by another woman. This fact alone makes him appear safer, stronger, and more valuable. In the female unconscious, he can represent stability and proof of worth. If another woman has him, then surely there must be something extraordinary about him. This belief awakens curiosity and desire that may never surface toward an available man. Attraction always intensifies when there is resistance. A wall creates tension. A closed door creates obsession. When someone says don't touch, the human mind instantly wants to touch. The same thing happens here. The ring on his finger doesn't shut the door completely. It creates another door, one that opens into the unknown, where danger and excitement live side by side. That forbidden space is where many women feel their hearts race the most. The forbidden attraction works like adrenaline. Every message, every glance, every pause in conversation feels heavier than normal. Secrecy multiplies the feeling. What is hidden begins to feel sacred. A small gesture from him seems like proof of destiny. A short silence feels like unbearable rejection. This roller coaster convinces the mind that the bond must be love, when in truth it is often the shadow at play. Jung taught that the shadow holds our hidden fears and desires. When a woman fights for a married man, many times she is really confronting parts of herself. The hunger to be chosen, the fear of being invisible, the need to feel unique. To many women, he becomes the ultimate challenge. He is the fruit no one should pick, the mountain impossible to climb. And precisely because he is out of reach, desire grows. The unconscious whispers, if he chooses me instead of her, then I am special. Then I am worth it. These are not logical thoughts. They are emotional impulses born in deep places of the psyche. The danger is how easily passion turns into illusion. What seems like love can be only projection. The woman does not see him as he is. She sees what she wants him to represent. She sees safety, validation, and victory over her secret fears. That is why the attraction feels almost impossible to release. This mix of emotions creates a storm: desire to hold him, fear of losing him. Each emotion feeds the other. The more she desires, the more she fears. The more she fears, the more she clings. It becomes a cycle that feels stronger than reason. Secrets make it worse. Hidden messages, quick glances, moments stolen in silence all gain power. They become addictive. The woman convinces herself that this must be rare, that this must be love. But in reality, it is the same unconscious pattern repeated, chasing what is not available and mistaking intensity for connection. On the surface, forbidden attraction feels like freedom, passion, even empowerment. But beneath it is often a prison. It ties her worth to a battle she cannot truly win. It keeps her attention locked on proving something rather than receiving love openly. And so the fight begins. Once the forbidden attraction takes root, it feels impossible to stop. She may feel that letting go would mean losing the proof of her value. She believes keeping him would confirm her uniqueness. Yet the truth is deeper. The fight is not really about him. It is about the symbols he carries inside her mind. The attraction to a married man is rarely random. It is not only about who he is. It is about what he reflects back to the feminine psyche. He becomes the flame that tests her worth, the mirror of her insecurities, the shadow that demands attention. Until she sees this clearly, the struggle continues. not because of the man himself, but because of what he represents in her inner world. The illusion of specialness. One of the strongest forces that keeps a woman tied to a married man is the illusion that she is different from everyone else. It is not only desire, nor the excitement of secrecy, but the deep belief that she has been chosen in a way no other woman has. This feeling can be intoxicating. It feeds the heart with the idea of uniqueness. If he risks so much just to be with me, it must mean I am extraordinary. Carl Jung wrote about the way the human psyche creates stories to protect its desires. In the unconscious, being special becomes a shield against pain and rejection. A woman convinces herself that she is unlike the others, that she has awakened something in him that no one else ever could. This story feels beautiful, but it is often an illusion, one built on projection, need, and fear. The illusion of specialness is powerful because it answers one of the deepest questions in the human soul. Am I enough? When a married man gives attention, the answer seems to be yes, but the yes comes in the most fragile form, because it depends on secrecy, risk, and the idea of competition. Instead of true security, it creates a temporary high that fades quickly and demands to be chased again. This cycle can be addictive. Every message, every hidden meeting, every small sign of affection becomes evidence in her mind that she has conquered something rare. The unconscious whispers, "He could be anywhere, but he is here with you. That must mean you are special." The woman then clings to this feeling, fighting to keep it alive even when logic shows that she is standing on unstable ground. The illusion grows stronger because of contrast. He may treat his wife with routine gestures, but with her he acts alive, adventurous, passionate. What she sees is not the full truth of who he is, but the version of himself that he shows in secret. This contrast convinces her that she brings out the best in him. She believes she is the spark he was missing. Jung would explain this as projection. She is projecting her desire to feel unique onto him, while he projects his desire for escape or excitement onto her. Both are trapped in illusions. Believing she is special also creates a dangerous kind of loyalty. She feels responsible for keeping the connection alive even if it costs her peace. The fear of losing the title of the chosen one becomes unbearable. This fear pushes her to fight harder, to prove that she deserves to be kept. She may sacrifice her own needs, silence her doubts, and ignore obvious truths, just to protect the fragile identity built around being the one who stands out. The problem is that this specialness is not solid. It rests on unstable foundations. His divided loyalty, his secret time, his selective honesty. Deep down she knows this, and because she knows, she becomes even more desperate to hold the illusion together. It becomes less about love and more about survival of identity. The illusion of specialness blinds her to the reality that true love does not require secrecy to prove worth. True love does not depend on comparison with another woman, but inside the shadow, the woman clings to this illusion because it feels safer than facing the fear of being ordinary, forgotten, or unwanted. This is why the illusion is so hard to break. It is not only about him, it is about her own story of value. To let him go would mean questioning the belief that she is different, that she is unforgettable. That thought is terrifying. So she fights harder, hoping to preserve the fragile crown that the unconscious has placed on her head. Jung often taught that illusions are the masks of the psyche. They protect us, but they also imprison us. The illusion of specialness is exactly that, a mask that hides insecurity while creating a false sense of power. And as long as the woman wears it, she will continue to fight for the married man, not because of who he truly is, but because of the story she tells herself about what it means to be chosen by him. If this message resonates with you, check the link in the pinned comment. There you'll find the Jung Method explained in simple steps. The battle for self-worth. Behind every fight to keep a married man, there is an invisible battlefield, the struggle for self-worth. Many women believe they are fighting for him, but deep inside, the real fight is against the fear of not being enough. The married man becomes a mirror where she measures her value. If he chooses her, it feels like proof that she matters. If he pulls away, it feels like proof that she is replaceable. Carl Jung explained that much of human behavior is driven by unconscious wounds. The fear of rejection, the fear of abandonment, and the fear of being invisible often live in the shadow of the psyche. When a woman becomes involved with a married man, these wounds rise to the surface. Every interaction becomes a test. Am I more attractive than her? Am I more valuable? Am I worth the risk he is taking? The relationship becomes less about love and more about survival of identity. This is why emotions feel so extreme. A simple text message can feel like victory. A delayed reply can feel like humiliation. The woman ties her sense of worth to his behavior, even though deep down she knows she has no real control over his choices. The unconscious traps her in a cycle where his attention equals her value, and his absence equals her failure. The battle for self-worth is exhausting. It consumes energy, focus, and peace of mind. Instead of living freely, she finds herself constantly comparing, questioning, and proving. The married man becomes the judge of her importance even though he was never meant to carry that role. Jung would say that she is projecting her inner struggle onto him, using him as the stage where her unhealed wounds perform again and again. What makes this battle so painful is that it never ends. Even if he shows affection, the fear still whispers, what if he changes his mind? What if he goes back fully to her? What if he finds someone else? No amount of proof is enough because the real wound is not healed by his presence. It is an inner wound that demands inner recognition. For many women, the fight to keep a married man becomes proof of value. If she wins him, it feels like she has finally won against every voice that once told her she wasn't enough. The problem is that this is an illusion. Even if she wins the battle, the wound remains. The unconscious hunger for validation cannot be satisfied by someone who is divided, someone who belongs elsewhere. This inner battle often explains why letting go feels impossible. To release him would feel like admitting defeat. It would feel like saying, I wasn't enough to be chosen. So the fight continues, not because the relationship brings peace, but because giving up feels like self-betrayal. The woman convinces herself that she must keep fighting, even when it destroys her inner balance. The truth is that no external person can define self-worth. Jung believed that individuation, the process of becoming whole, requires turning inward, facing the shadow and claiming value from within. Until this happens, the married man will continue to represent the battlefield. He will remain the symbol of proof, the test of whether she deserves love. The tragedy is that in this fight, the woman often forgets her own identity. She becomes so focused on proving her worth through him that she loses sight of who she truly is. The battle drains her energy and blinds her to her own potential. Instead of realizing her value independently, she ties it to someone who can never give full commitment. The battle for self-worth is not really about him. It is about the wounds she carries. The married man is only the trigger, the mirror that reflects her fears. The fight she believes is external is in fact internal, and until she recognizes this, the cycle repeats. To see the truth is painful but also liberating. The moment she understands that she is not fighting for him, but for herself, she gains the power to step out of the battlefield. She begins to see that her worth is not measured by his divided attention, but by the strength she finds within. The real question is not, will he choose me? The real question is, will I choose myself? The shadow of desire. Desire is one of the most powerful forces in human life, but it also has a hidden side. Carl Jung described this hidden side as the shadow, the part of the psyche that holds everything we try to ignore, deny, or hide. When a woman fights to keep a married man, much of what drives her comes from this shadow of desire. It is not just about passion or attraction. It is about the unconscious needs, fears, and longings that surface in the forbidden space. On the surface, desire feels beautiful. It feels like fire, like something alive that makes the heart race and the body tremble. But beneath that fire is often something darker. The shadow of desire whispers things the conscious mind doesn't want to admit. The hunger for power, the thrill of competition, the need to feel superior, the escape from loneliness. These are not comfortable truths, yet they are part of the force that keeps a woman tied to a man she cannot fully have. The shadow of desire makes the forbidden feel irresistible. The very fact that he is married intensifies the attraction. If he were free, the same woman might not feel the same pull. But because he belongs to someone else, the shadow paints him with a glow of mystery and value. The unconscious says, if he risks everything for you, then you must be extraordinary. That thought feeds the desire and makes it grow far beyond reason. This shadow also awakens competition. Even if she does not want to admit it, the presence of his wife or partner becomes part of the story. Desire is amplified by rivalry. Winning him would feel like proof of superiority. Losing him would feel like humiliation. The married man becomes less of a person and more of a prize in the battle between hidden parts of the psyche. Jung would explain this as projection. The woman projects her fears and her hunger for validation onto him, turning him into a symbol instead of seeing him as a whole human being. Another layer of the shadow of desire is the hunger for danger. The secrecy, the risk, the possibility of being discovered, all these elements feed adrenaline. The woman may confuse this adrenaline with love. She tells herself the intensity proves the connection is real, when in truth it is the rush of danger feeding the fire. This explains why the relationship feels addictive. The forbidden keeps her hooked, not necessarily the man himself. The shadow also hides loneliness. For some women, chasing a married man fills an inner emptiness. The excitement of his presence distracts from the silence inside. The attention he gives, even if limited, feels like a cure for inner wounds. Yet this is temporary. When he pulls away, the emptiness returns stronger, demanding another dose of secret attention. This cycle creates dependency, not love. The danger of ignoring the shadow is that it takes control. A woman may tell herself she is simply following her heart, but in reality she is following unconscious patterns. She is being pulled by forces she cannot see. Jung warned that what we do not make conscious will appear in our lives as fate. The shadow of desire is exactly that. Unhealed wounds shaping choices that feel inevitable. To face the shadow is uncomfortable. It means admitting that the attraction is not only about romance. It means recognizing the thrill of rivalry, the craving for validation, the hunger for risk. But once this truth is seen, freedom becomes possible. The woman begins to see the married man not as destiny, but as a mirror reflecting her own shadow. The shadow of desire explains why the fight feels so strong. She is not only fighting for him, she is fighting against parts of herself, against her own fears, her own insecurities, her own hunger to feel alive. The married man simply awakens what was already hidden within. Understanding this changes everything. Instead of chasing him, she can begin to ask, what is this desire showing me about myself? What part of my shadow is asking to be seen? The answers are not easy, but they lead to growth. Desire itself is not the enemy. The shadow is not evil. It is simply the part of us that waits to be integrated. When a woman understands this, the fight loses some of its power. She no longer sees him as the only source of life. She realizes that the fire was inside her all along. The married man only lit the match. The fear of losing. Behind every desperate attempt to hold on to a married man lies one of the most powerful emotions of all: fear. It is not only the fear of losing him, but the fear of what his absence might mean about her own value. This fear grows so strong that it often blinds a woman to reality, making her believe that she must fight no matter the cost, just to avoid the pain of being replaced. Carl Jung explained that fear often reveals the hidden parts of the psyche, the wounds that have not yet been healed. In this case, the fear of losing a married man is rarely about him alone. It is about the shadow of abandonment, rejection, and invisibility. Deep down, the woman fears that if he chooses to stay with his wife, it will prove that she was never truly enough. This fear works like an invisible chain. It ties her to him, even when the relationship brings more anxiety than peace. She knows the situation is fragile, yet the thought of losing him feels unbearable. Every silence, every delay in his replies, every sign of distance triggers the fear again. It grows louder than reason, convincing her that without him she is nothing. The fear of losing is also fueled by comparison. She looks at his wife or at other women around him and feels the threat of competition. The unconscious turns the relationship into a battlefield where she must prove her worth at all times. If she wins, she feels validated. If she loses, she feels erased. This constant competition is exhausting, yet fear keeps her trapped in it. Another layer of fear comes from time. She invests her emotions, her energy, sometimes even years, into the secret connection. Letting go feels like throwing all of that away. The unconscious whispers, if you give up now, it will all be for nothing. And so she holds on tighter, afraid of facing regret. The fear of losing also awakens control. She may try to predict his moves, test his loyalty, or demand signs of affection to feel secure. But the more she tries to control him, the more unstable the bond becomes. This creates a cycle. Her fear pushes her to hold on tighter, which pushes him to pull away, which increases her fear even more. Jung would say that this fear is a signal from the unconscious, pointing toward the shadow. The real wound is not the loss of him, but the fear of losing herself. When a woman ties her identity to a man who cannot fully belong to her, she risks losing her sense of worth. The fight is less about keeping him and more about avoiding the emptiness of facing her own doubts. The tragedy of fear is that it often creates the very loss it dreads. The more desperate she becomes to hold on, the more fragile the connection grows. Fear turns love into a prison. It transforms desire into anxiety. And instead of enjoying what she has, she is constantly haunted by what she might lose. But fear also carries a hidden gift. Jung taught that facing fear is one of the keys to individuation, the journey of becoming whole. When a woman sees her fear clearly, she begins to understand that it is not really about him. It is about the wounds within her that long to be healed. The fear of losing shows her where she has tied her worth to something outside of herself. To confront this fear is painful, but it brings freedom. When she realizes that losing him does not mean losing herself, she begins to reclaim her power. She sees that her value is not measured by his divided attention, but by her own strength to stand alone. The fear that once chained her becomes the very doorway to her growth. The fear of losing explains why the fight for a married man feels so desperate. She is not just afraid of losing him, she is afraid of losing the story she tells herself about who she is when she is with him. But once she sees that her worth is independent of him, the fear begins to lose its grip. In the end, the question is not whether she will lose him. The real question is whether she will lose herself in the process. Facing this fear with courage transforms the struggle into an awakening, the secret power struggle. Every relationship carries an invisible exchange of power. In ordinary love, this balance may shift gently with both partners giving and receiving. But in the case of a woman fighting to keep a married man, the power struggle is secret, hidden beneath passion and desire. It is not spoken out loud, but it shapes every word, every silence, every decision. Carl Jung explained that the human psyche is always influenced by power dynamics. Who leads, who follows, who holds control. In a forbidden relationship, this balance is distorted. The married man appears to have the upper hand. He decides when to meet, when to message, when to pull close, and when to disappear. His life outside the affair always takes priority, and she often accepts it because the fear of losing him is stronger than her need for fairness. Yet beneath the surface, she also seeks power. The fight to keep him is not only about love, it is about proving control. She wants to feel that she has the ability to pull him away from his wife, to capture his attention fully, to make him choose her above all else. In her unconscious, this becomes a battle not of romance but of dominance. The secret power struggle can be subtle. Sometimes it shows in silence, when she withholds her response to make him worry. Sometimes it shows in emotional intensity, when she tests him to see how far he will go. At other times, it shows in sacrifice, giving more of herself to gain influence over him. These strategies are rarely conscious, but they are part of the dance of power that defines the hidden relationship. The struggle is exhausting, because true balance is impossible. He always has another life, another loyalty, another responsibility. She knows this, but the unconscious whispers, "If you fight harder, you can win." So she pushes, tests, and proves, hoping to tilt the balance in her favor. This secret battle often explains why emotions run so high. Every small victory feels huge. Every small loss feels unbearable. If he spends time with her, it feels like triumph. If he pulls away, it feels like defeat. The relationship becomes less about connection and more about scoreboard keeping. Who holds the power? Who is winning? Who is losing? Jung would say that this struggle reflects inner conflicts within the woman herself. On one side, she longs to surrender to love. On the other, she fears being powerless. The married man awakens both sides at once. He gives her moments of feeling powerful, desired, chosen, pursued. But he also gives her moments of powerlessness, ignored, waiting, left in silence. These extremes create a cycle that keeps her trapped, always fighting to regain control. The power struggle also feeds on secrecy. Because the relationship is hidden, normal rules of fairness do not apply. She cannot demand full presence, she cannot claim full loyalty. She cannot expose the truth without destroying it. This lack of balance intensifies her fight. She seeks small ways to tip the scale, to feel like she holds influence in a situation where she actually has little. The tragedy of this struggle is that both lose. He loses the chance to be honest and whole. She loses her peace of mind, spending her energy trying to control what she cannot. And yet the struggle continues because power itself is addictive. Every time she feels like she has gained influence, it sparks hope. Every time she feels powerless, it sparks determination. To recognize the secret power struggle is to begin breaking free. Jung taught that what remains unconscious controls us until we make it conscious. Once she sees the fight clearly, she realizes it is not really about him. It is about her own fear of losing power, her own hunger for control, her own shadow. The truth is, love is not a battlefield of winners and losers. Real love is built on trust, presence, and openness. The hidden affair cannot offer that. It can only offer fragments, and fragments always create imbalance. The secret power struggle explains why she fights so hard to keep him. It is not only about desire. It is about the need to feel strong in a situation that makes her weak. But the more she fights for control, the less peace she finds. The only real power comes not from keeping him, but from choosing herself. The emotional addiction. Love, when healthy, brings peace, balance, and growth. But when a woman fights to keep a married man, what often takes place is not love at all, but emotional addiction. It is the same cycle that keeps people hooked on substances or habits they know are harmful. The mind says stop, but the body and heart crave the next dose. Carl Jung explained that the unconscious has its own way of creating attachments. When strong emotions are repeated, the psyche begins to confuse intensity with meaning. The highs and lows of a secret relationship create powerful chemical reactions in the brain. Dopamine during the moments of affection, cortisol during the moments of silence or rejection. This roller coaster locks a woman into dependence, convincing her that she cannot live without him. Emotional addiction feels almost identical to love. She tells herself that she is deeply in love, that she has found something unique, but the truth is more painful. She is addicted to the emotions he triggers. The rush of excitement when he calls, the anxiety when he disappears, the relief when he comes back. Each stage feeds the cycle, keeping her chained. This is why the relationship feels impossible to leave. Walking away is not just letting go of a man, it is facing the withdrawal of an emotional drug. The silence after him feels like emptiness. The absence of intensity feels like death. She may know logically that the relationship will not bring lasting peace, but the addiction keeps pulling her back, promising another high. The emotional addiction also explains why she tolerates things she would never accept in another context. Broken promises, secrecy, half-truths. In a healthy relationship, these would be reasons to walk away. But under addiction, the brain focuses only on the reward. She waits for the next moment of closeness, ignoring the pain of the distance. The unconscious whispers, "Hold on a little longer. He will come back. It will feel good again." What makes emotional addiction so powerful is the unpredictability. She never knows when he will call, when he will be present, or when he will vanish. This uncertainty actually strengthens the bond. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, the same principle that makes gambling addictive. The small unpredictable rewards create obsession. In the same way, every unexpected message, every secret meeting, every sudden spark keeps her hooked. Jung would say that this addiction reveals the shadow's hunger. It shows the parts of herself that crave intensity, drama, and proof of worth. These cravings are not wrong, but when they remain unconscious, they control her life. The married man becomes the supplier of her addiction, and she becomes trapped in chasing feelings instead of truth. The tragedy is that emotional addiction drains her strength. She spends hours waiting, checking, hoping, and analyzing. Her mind becomes restless, her energy consumed. She begins to lose touch with herself because all of her focus is on him. The addiction convinces her that she is powerless without him, when in reality the power was always hers. To break free, she must see the cycle clearly. She must realize that the intensity she calls love is actually dependency. This realization is painful because it feels like tearing away the story she has been telling herself. But it is also liberating. Jung taught that once we bring the unconscious into light, it loses its power over us. Freedom begins when she understands that she is not addicted to him, but to the emotions around him. He is the trigger, not the cure. By facing this truth, she can begin to build a different kind of connection, one based on peace, honesty, and balance, not on highs and lows. She starts to see that what she thought was passion was in fact a pattern, and patterns can be broken once they are recognized. The emotional addiction explains why the fight to keep a married man feels so endless. It is not only about desire or fear. It is about dependence on the rush, the drama, the thrill. Until she confronts this addiction, she will keep coming back no matter how much it hurts. But once she chooses herself, the cycle breaks. The withdrawal passes. And in the silence that follows, she discovers a deeper kind of love. The love that begins within. The kind that no man can take away. The cost of holding on. Every fight comes with a price. When a woman holds on to a married man, the cost is higher than she often realizes. It is not only about time or energy. It is about her peace, her dignity, and the quiet strength she sacrifices each day just to keep something that was never fully hers. The unconscious convinces her that the fight is worth it. But the reality is that every moment spent in this battle takes something away from her life. Carl Jung explained that the psyche pays a heavy toll when it lives in contradiction. The conscious mind may say this is love, but the unconscious knows there is secrecy, fear, and division. This inner conflict drains energy. It creates anxiety that lingers in the body, showing up as restlessness, sleepless nights, and a constant need for reassurance. Holding on feels like survival, but in truth, it is slow self-destruction. One of the greatest costs is self-respect. When she accepts being hidden, being second, or being a secret, she tells herself unconsciously that she is not worthy of being chosen openly. Every compromise chips away at her sense of value. She may believe she is proving her love, but what she is really proving is her willingness to settle for less. This hidden erosion of dignity is one of the deepest prices she pays. The cost also shows in her relationships with others. Friends may notice her distance. Family may sense her distraction. Opportunities for healthy connections pass by, because her energy is tied to someone who cannot fully be there. In chasing him, she misses what could truly bring her peace and growth. The world shrinks around the secret, and with it her own possibilities. Another cost is time. Weeks, months, sometimes years can disappear in the fight to keep a married man. She waits for the day he will finally choose her, sacrificing precious time that can never return. Jung taught that time spent in illusion steals life itself. The longer she waits, the deeper the regret becomes. What she thought was an investment often ends up being a loss she cannot recover. The emotional cost is equally heavy. Living in secrecy means living with fear. Every message could be discovered. Every meeting could be exposed. This constant tension wears on the soul. Instead of feeling safe and cherished, she lives in anxiety and doubt. The heart was not made to thrive in secrecy. It longs for openness, and when it is denied, it suffers. The fight also costs her inner growth. By pouring energy into keeping him, she avoids facing the deeper questions within herself. Why do I need this? What am I afraid of losing? What part of me feels unworthy of something greater? Without asking these questions, she remains stuck in the same cycle. Holding on becomes a way of avoiding self-discovery. The greatest cost, however, is freedom. Freedom to choose fully. Freedom to be loved openly. Freedom to live without fear. When she holds on to him, she locks herself inside a prison built from desire and fear. The door is open, but the addiction convinces her to stay. And in staying, she loses the chance to experience love that is whole, honest, and complete. Jung would say that every struggle with the shadow demands a choice. Either remain in illusion, paying the hidden cost day after day, or confront the truth and reclaim freedom. The cost of holding on is high, but the cost of letting go is the beginning of healing. To release him is to face the pain directly, but beyond that pain lies peace, the peace of finally choosing herself. The truth is simple but hard. Keeping a married man is never free. The price is always dignity, time, energy, and peace. Many women discover this only when it is too late, when years have been lost. But those who awaken see the cost clearly, and once they do, they cannot ignore it. They realize that no man is worth the loss of the self. The cost of holding on is the weight of a life half lived. The reward of letting go is the chance to begin again, stronger, wiser, and whole.